Thank you to everyone for joining us today. I will start by telling you a little bit about MagnaColours and our product range before moving on to look at some of our specialty products in a little more detail. MagnaColours was established in 1978 as a producer of water-based textile inks for the UK rotary and flatbed printers. We now export to over 40 countries worldwide and are widely recognised as the world leader in water-based printing inks for textiles. Our growth as a company has come from continual product innovation and improvement. We work with global brands and retailers to understand the market requirements and fashion trends. Magna Lab is key to our success, and this is where all our product development is carried out. All MagnaPrint products are rigorously tested prior to being launched to market, and we have an M&R Sportsman and gas dryer in the lab in order to replicate the true production environment. This testing can often involve heating the room to over 104 degrees Fahrenheit to really test the ink and the screen performance. Another key point to our success is the compliance of the MagnaPrint product range to retailer restricted substance lists and international chemical legislation. We check the RSL lists of many major international retailers to ensure our products comply. In addition to this, our products are independently tested and certified by Bureau Veritas Laboratories to confirm compliance to the Nike RSL, the Eco Passport for Ergotex label garments, and the Inditex Group, which includes large brands such as Zara. We also have a range of products certified by the Global Organic Textile Society, which means they are approved for use on certified organic garments. You can also rest assured that MagnaPrint products meet all the requirements of CSPIA. MagnaPrint products are manufactured free from PVC, phthalates, formaldehyde, azo, APO, NPE, and heavy metals such as lead. Moving on to take a quick look at the MagnaPrint product range. As I said earlier, product development has always been the key to our success. A prime example of this is the MagnaPrint Discharge ULF range. The world's first formaldehyde-free discharge system, and it was developed and patented by MagnaColours. As you can see, with MagnaPrint Discharge, we have two product ranges. MagnaPrint Discharge ULF, which is formaldehyde-free, straight from the dryer, and MagnaPrint Discharge ABAW, which uses a formaldehyde-containing activator, and we offer this as a cost-effective solution where the garment will be washed after printing, or if the customer has no formaldehyde restriction. Both systems produce vivid colours or bright white discharge prints with a lovely soft hand feel. A more recent development is our high solids product range, and in particular MagnaPrint Aquaflex V2. This product was developed to meet the PVC-free requirement of the major sportswear brands. Aquaflex V2 also meets the extended durability requirements of these brands, while at the same time achieving the on-press performance and production speeds to satisfy the printer. There are two products in the range. Aquaflex White V2, which is a very high opacity white. It's non-drying in the screen and has a soft, flexible hand. You can also achieve bright colours with the Aquaflex Neutral V2. MagnaPrint soft bases are transparent pastes used for printing onto white or light coloured fabrics. There are also two products in this range. MagnaPrint FF should be used for simple vector art on mesh counts up to 190. MagnaPrint ND Extra is used for fine detail prints and can be printed on mesh up to 305. ND Extra is a super product and one that I always recommend as a starting place for anyone just getting into water-based ink. ND stands for non-drying, and this characteristic makes the ink very easy to use as it never dries on the mesh and performs very similar to a plastisol. The HB Opaque range was developed to achieve a soft-hand print with a discharge look and feel, even on non-discharge fabric. HB products are printed onto either a discharge or a high solids underbase. Another non-drying formulation, the HB range, can be used for high mesh counts up to 305 without drying on the screen. The MagnaPrint Eco pigments are the universal pigment set for the whole of the MagnaPrint product range. Used in conjunction with our MagnaMix formulation guide, you can achieve any shade using just 12 pigment colours. The Magna pigment set is highly concentrated and typically uses far less pigment than other products we see on the market. A sample kit of these pigments is available from Nasdaq Source 1. Whilst MagnaPrint products are fully formulated and do not generally require additives, there are always times when perhaps we cannot achieve the required cure temperature as we are printing on a temperature-sensitive fabric, or maybe you are printing on a waterproof fabric and cannot achieve good wash fastness. Our range of additives and auxiliaries includes low-temperature cure fixing agents, softeners and fastness improvers that can be added to any ink to help overcome these problems. Before we move on, let me just hand you back to Lindsay while we conduct a quick poll.
Thanks, Jeanette. We have a quick poll question here. Now, these are multiple choice questions. You can select any of these that apply. What brand of water-based inks are you using at this time? MagnaColours, Virus, Poly1 Wilflex, Matsui, CHT. We'll give you a few minutes, or 1 minute here to respond. All right. Looks like the majority of you are using MagnaColours. We're glad to see that and hope you learn a little bit more about these special inks. Jeanette, go ahead from here.
Thank you, Lindsay. Okay, so now we come to the MagnaPrint Effect Pastes. We have a very extensive range of products and can achieve many different effects, such as shine, distressed, vintage looks, lots of different texture effects, high build, metallics, and many more. All the specialty products are also certified to the various RSLs that we've already talked about and are free of these restricted substances. So they're still free from PVC, phthalate, formaldehyde, azo, APO, and heavy metals. For today's presentation, we are focusing on 6 key effect pastes. We have selected these based on feedback from retailers and what we see as popular in the industry right now. The products that we're going to look at are MagnaPrint Bling Silver, MagnaPrint Glitter AP, MagnaPrint Reflective SB, MagnaPrint Suede Foam, MagnaPrint Pearl TT, and MagnaPrint Foil Binder BMS. So, starting with the MagnaPrint Bling range, this is a range of ready-to-use metallic pastes. They are non-tarnishing and therefore stable as a one-pack ink. Bling products are available as silver, gold or bronze. We recommend printing through a 110 mesh and printing 2 strokes to ensure all the particles clear the mesh. 2/2 gives the best coverage and effect. MagnaPrint Bling Silver can be tinted with up to 6% of our eco pigments, so you can actually achieve metallic effects in any colour. This print demonstrates using bling in a more complex artwork. The silver here is actually used as an underbase, and in order to obtain the detail of the print, we've overprinted using MagnaPrint ND Extra. Glitter AP is also a one-pot ink. The print paste contains the glitter particle and the ink. Straight from the pot, Glitter AP is a silver glitter, but what is quite unique about Glitter AP is that it can be coloured with our eco pigments to any shade, or it can be used as an overprint on top of colours. Again, as it's quite a large particle, we suggest a 110 mesh, printing 2 strokes to clear the mesh. Glitter AP is a really soft hand feel product, and because all the glitter is encapsulated within the ink, there are no loose glitter particles, making it particularly suitable for children's wear. This design shows the MagnaPrint Glitter AP used as an overprint. It falls onto a colour and also onto the base fabric. You can see how the paste is very clear and has little effect on the shade underneath. Reflective inks are currently extremely popular. We know from one leading sportswear brand that reflective will feature on 70% of all running styles for Spring-Summer 2017. MagnaPrint Reflective SB is currently our most popular reflective. It is made up of a reflective bead coated with an aluminium powder. In daylight, it looks like a metallic silver. In the dark, it reflects back any light shone directly at the print, so is extremely popular for safety wear or running gear. Our reflective range consists of 5 products. 3 metallic look products, Reflective 3R Black, Reflective 3R Silver, and Reflective Silver SB. We also have 2 unique products that can be overprinted to achieve coloured reflectives. These are MagnaPrint Reflective Clear and MagnaPrint Reflective Crystal Clear. The Reflective Clear has better reflectivity of the 2, but it can have an effect on the shade that it's printed onto. The Reflective Crystal Clear has a slightly lower reflectivity, but completely maintains the integrity of the shade that it's printed on top of. It's really a compromise of what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve shade, and that's the most important thing, then you go for Reflective Crystal Clear. If reflectivity is more important, then you go for Reflective Clear. This design shows what looks like a multicoloured reflective print. Actually, we printed MagnaPrint Reflective SB as an underbase and overprinted using MagnaPrint ND Extra. This print will have high reflectivity, but the shades will be affected by the silver underbase. If colour shade is important, this design could be printed in Aquaflex V2 and the reflective clear or crystal clear printed on top. MagnaPrint Suede Foam is a ready-to-use puff paste with a suede hand feel. We use it to add texture and dimension to prints. Print through an 86 to 110 mesh. The more ink down, the higher the puff effect. Suede foam can be coloured with up to 6% eco pigment, or it can also be used as an underbase and overprinted with colour. Just one word of warning. Suede foam is temperature sensitive, so maximum cure temperature is 302 degrees Fahrenheit. This teddy bear print is ideal for suede foam, as the suede gives texture to the bear's fur. We used the suede as an underbase with a 110 mesh and overprinted the colours using MagnaPrint HB Neutral. MagnaPrint Pearl TT is a range of iridescent pearls, a ready-to-print range of 5 colours. The inks are actually white in the pot, and the colour effect develops when they are printed onto a black underbase. We suggest using Aquaflex V2 Neutral mixed with MagnaPrint Black NGN. Or if you're printing onto polyester fabric, then we would use MagnaPrint Underbase Grey as a blocker to prevent migration from the polyester. The TT colours that are available are Mint, Azure, Lime, Lilac and Ice Blue. This print shows just a simple use of TT Pearl to highlight a design. The TT was printed on the last screen through a 110 mesh. I will now hand back to Lindsay again for another poll.
Thank you, Jeanette. Our second question here is, how many and what type of presses are in your location? 1 to 3 manual presses, 1 to 3 automatic presses, 4 or more manual presses, 4 or more automatic. Give you about a minute to respond. All right. Looks like the majority of you have 1 to 3 manual presses or 4 or more automatic presses. MagnaColor inks are both for both options, manual and automatic. Jeanette, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. So now on to our final product in today's webinar. MagnaPrint Foil Binder BMS is a ready-to-print thermoplastic foil adhesive. It contains a very fine micron melt powder, so can be printed through 110 mesh up to 190. After printing and curing, foil is applied at 4 bar pressure, 302 degrees Fahrenheit for 12 seconds. The final prints are super soft in comparison to a plastisol foil binder. Foil does have poor wash fastness, so pay attention to the wash recommendation of the foil manufacturer. Most foil manufacturers recommend only 86 degrees Fahrenheit for the wash. This design shows foil printed in combination with a discharge print. The foil adhesive is printed in the last position. When printing in combination with discharge, we do not need to use a foil binder. That concludes our presentation. I hope you all found it useful. I'm now going to pass you over to Dan Zamuda from NASDAR Source One, who can tell you more about how you can obtain more information on today's webinar and the MagnaPrint products. We will then answer any questions you may have. Over to you, Dan.
Thanks, Jeanette. I wanted to thank everybody for joining the presentation on Magna Special Effect Inks. Again, I'm Dan Zamuda. I'm Product Manager for NASDAR Source One's Textile Inks. And today we have two ways to learn a little bit more about the Magna Special Effects webinar. The first way is to download our Special Effects booklet. This is a downloadable 14-page document, and it showcases all the inks that we discussed in the webinar. Each ink set has specific details on how the image was produced, including things like print sequence, ink types used, flashes, squeegee durometers, and squeegee angles. Each of these ink sets has a couple variations. This might include things like overprinting, tinting, and just utilizing the pigments in just different ways along with the bases. We have also included in this booklet the art steps that we've used to create these images. You'll see how each film positive is broken down so you can see actually what was printed. And then finally, we have each of the part numbers and container sizes included with links to NASDAR Source One's website. Our second way to learn more about the Magna Special Effects is through our Special Effects Kit. NASDAR is offering a 6-container kit which contains 1 kilo of each of the inks that were discussed today. That includes the suede foam, bling silver, the pearl two-tone lime, the glitter AP, the reflective SB, and the foil binder BMS. The kit cost is $215. We do have a limited number of kits available, so please be sure to order yours right away. Once they're gone, they are gone. And at this point, we cannot split the kits up, so we do not have individual samples of each of the single inks, but we do have the kit available. And our NASDAR part number for this kit is Magna SE Kit. And at this point, I'm going to turn it back over to Lindsay, and we can go ahead and take some questions on the webinar.
All right, looks like we have several really good questions here. The first one's coming from Eric. He says, there's no temp limitation on the pearlescent inks. Some pearlescent glitters, foils burn and shift color at too high of temperature.
Our standard temp recommendation, and just let me convert this over. Our standard curing temperature is usually 150 degrees centigrade or 302 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that's right. And the maximum would be 165 degrees centigrade, 335 Fahrenheit. And the glitter AP, the Pearl TT and the bling are all suitable for curing at those temperatures.
Thank you, Jeanette. The next question is, when PMS matching water base and or discharge inks, which color book do you recommend?
The MagnaMix system actually is based on the Pantone C book, and there are also some of the I can't remember the reference, but mostly it's the C that we use.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, does the Aquaplast Clear with 12% pigment of white work just as well as an underbase as the Aquaplast White Paste?
Absolutely not. You wouldn't achieve the same degree of opacity by using the neutral and the pigment paste together. The Aquaflex White V2 is manufactured to a very, very high opacity, contains a very high amount of titanium dioxide. The pigment white is obviously very dilute because it's titanium basically dispersed in water. So you would really need to be printing that at 200%, which would never really get into the base.
Okay. What wash performance can I expect from specialty products?
We test all the Magna products, including specialties and the Aquaflex range, to meet the extended wash requirements of the sportswear brands. So everything that we produce is tested in the Miele washing machine for 5 washes at 60 degrees centigrade, and in between every wash we tumble dry for an hour. So all the products that we've talked about today, with the exception of foil, the foil binder will withstand that wash, but the foil itself probably won't. But all the other products will meet that wash requirement.
Is there any restriction to the type of fabric I can print these on?
There's no fabric restriction. As we discussed in the presentation, we do have additives and auxiliary products that can help if you've got difficult fabrics to print on. If we're printing on polyester, then depending on the product that you're going to use, we may suggest that you use the MagnaPrint Underbase Grey, which blocks any migration from the dispersed dyes and prevents that from discolouring the print. But other than that, there are no real restrictions to what you can print on.
And if I could add to that, we highly recommend that with any ink system that you absolutely do your due diligence. You test on the fabrics that you are going to produce the product on, and make sure that they do, in fact, meet your expectations and your customers' expectations on durability and adhesion and any other factors that you're looking at.
All right, thank you. Next question, is there any technical help available to help me try specialty inks via telephone or ideally on site?
So yes, NASDAR Source, go ahead, Jeanette, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, go ahead.
NASDAR Source One has a pretty broad range of people that can help out. There's myself, there's Carl Busey, and there's Simone Romero, all of which we have a lot of experience with the Magna products, and we can certainly point people in the right direction via phone. And then in certain instances, if we have trips in a specific area, we can certainly coordinate a stop by, and we can work with some of the customers if we have joint trips.
All right. What underbases can be used to block migration of high visibility shirt? In particular, what underbase would work best when putting 4-color process on top?
If you're printing onto polyester and it's high vis, very difficult colours, I appreciate the question. We would recommend the MagnaPrint Underbase Grey. It's a great blocking for the grey, for the colours, sorry. Depending, and as Dan said, it's very important that you test the fabric and determine the process that you're going to need to print. So some of these shades, particularly the high visibility oranges and things like that, do require 2 screens of the underbase grey just to really seal it down and prevent any migration through. On top of that, we would probably recommend that you put a layer of the Aquaflex V2 white to give a nice clean underbase, and then we could print on top with the HB opaque colours.
What would be the difference between V2 base and HB base?
The V2 base is a higher solid product. If you printed the 2 side by side, the V2 would have much more of a a rubbery sort of plastic feel, whereas the HB would feel slightly less hand feel and more like a typical water-based ink than the Aquaflex V2.
Now, Dan, I know you covered this about the samples, but someone is asking again, how can we get the samples?
We can, through this webinar, we have the special effects book that we have. If you register for that, there's a hyperlink that's actually in that PDF that will take you to NASDAR Source One's website. Or you can call our customer service team and tell them you are interested in one of the special effect kits.
Thank you. Do Magna's products meet the requirements of the Nike RSL, CP/SIA, and Ecotex?
Yes, they certainly do. As we said earlier, we do test all our products at independent laboratories, so they are certified annually to meet the Nike RSL, and they are approved for use on Nike garments. We also test to the Ecotex standard, so that the products are approved with an Eco Passport and can be printed on Ecotex label garments. And as also mentioned before, some of the products do meet the requirements of the Global Organic Textile Standard and can be used on certified organic garments.
All right, we still have lots of good questions here. How much pigment can I add to Bling Silver?
With Bling Silver, I would recommend a maximum pigment loading of 6%. As I did say, though, our pigments are extremely concentrated, so at 6% you're going to achieve a very, very strong shade.
Is there a general guideline for palette temperatures when printing water-based wet on wet versus printing on top of an underbase?
When printing onto an underbase with a product such as Aquaflex V2, we generally recommend that you preheat the palettes to around 70 degrees centigrade. If someone can help me out with a Fahrenheit conversion, I'd appreciate it. Because we actually find that this helps the runnability of the ink in the screen. It also helps reduce the flash time and helps the release of the ink as the screen lifts up. So we do recommend that if you're printing onto an underbase that you do preheat the palettes. If you're printing on wet with something like a discharge or a soft base, preheating the palettes is less important, but obviously a little bit of heat in the palette can help with adhesion to the glue with the fabrics to the glue. So a little bit of preheat will help, but obviously when you're printing discharge, you don't want to be too hot, and we wouldn't normally recommend that you run flashes while you're printing discharge colours.
Yeah, that conversion would be 158 degrees Fahrenheit.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Next question. What is the shelf life of inks, also for custom mixed colors?
The shelf life of, I think everything that we talked about today would be at least 12 months, if not more. I don't know all the individual shelf lives of the products, but with water-based inks, as long as you keep them in a sealed container with the lid on, so that they're not drying out, then you should get at least 12 months out of them.
Okay, and Jeanette, I also have a cheat sheet with all the shelf life ages for all the Magna products, so if somebody needs those, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to send that to you.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay, our next question is in regards to drying time. Do the Magna inks require longer drying time than Plastisol? If so, how much time is required to completely cure the inks so that they pass wash durability standards?
In general, water-based inks do require more time to cure than a Plastisol, and that's down to chemistry. they are water-based, therefore the water needs to evaporate before the curing process actually starts. Whereas with a plastisol, it's just a fusing process that happens quite quickly once in the dryer. However, a lot of our new developments, such as the Aquaflex V2 range, can actually be cured at the same time and temperature as a plastisol. And we see that as a major benefit because obviously people can use the same dryers to cure plastisol and water-based and run both products on different machines at the same time. So it's much more production friendly, and we appreciate that. And reducing drying and curing times is one of our the key areas that we are always focused on. Now, for other inks, the standard curing time in the oven would be 3 minutes, and we appreciate that that is difficult for some people to achieve. And that's where our auxiliary products come in, because we can then add a fixing agent to the ink where we can dramatically reduce the time that's required in the oven, and the curing will take place over a period of time after it's come out of the oven, as long as the product is dry. So yes, there is extended time required under normal circumstances, but with additives we can reduce the curing times and temperatures quite significantly.
If I have an electric dryer, can I print water-based inks?
Yes, you can. And we do have a lot of people around the world that use electric dryers, particularly in Turkey. And in Turkey we tend to use a lot of the fixing agents, just because the electric dryers don't have the circulation that the gas dryers have. They don't extract the moisture quite as well, so the curing temperature tends to be a little bit lower. And to just ensure that we're getting a good cure, we always add a fixing agent.
Okay, next question. Do you have any way of tinting dischargeable paste or discharge paste with pigments, or can your water base be mixed in?
Yes, both the discharge ULF system and the discharge ABAW system, you can add our MagnaPrint Eco pigments directly into the paste, and you can print a multicoloured discharge print wet on wet, straight away. We don't recommend that you print a discharge underbase and print the colours on top. If you want really bright coloured discharges, then the best way is to put the pigment directly into the paste and print that direct to the fabric.
Can I tint any of the pearl tones to create Pantone colors?
With the Pearl TTs, no, you can't. They already have their own colour. We do have a product called MagnaPrint Eco Pearl Neutral, which is a neutral pearl paste. It looks very much like a creamy mother of pearl product while it's in the tub. You can add MagnaPrint pigments to that to make any pearlescent colour that you like.
Is it acceptable to keep pigments pre-mixed to have stock colors, and if so, is there a shelf life to pigments in general and when pre-mixed?
It is acceptable, of course. Just treat them as you would any water-based ink. Make sure that you keep a lid on them so that they're not drying out. I would suggest that you could keep them for at least 6 months. The only thing to be aware of with the water-based pigments themselves is that they are a dispersion, and as such, if you're storing them for long periods of time, they can be settling in the product. So we would recommend that you give them a good shake at least once a week.
Can we use a homemade sun dryer?
A homemade what, sorry?
Sun dryer.
I'm not familiar with that dryer, but like Jeanette was saying earlier, the importance is to make sure that we're able to evaporate that water and get that cross-linking to occur. And by adding the fixers to the inks, that will help with that cross-linking process. Because we don't have familiarity with that, particular dryer, I would recommend that they do some testing on their own and some wash tests to ensure that the product does withstand the washing and the durability that they need.
Thank you, Dan. Next question. Other reflective inks I have used are usually a 3-pack system. Once I mix them, I have a 4-hour window to use the product. Is this the same with the Magna product?
No, it isn't. All our products are 1 pack. So you can take the ink straight from the pack and print it on the press. You can put the lid back onto the pot and store it on the shelf for at least 6 to 12 months and reuse it as and when you like. So it's a major advantage over some of the competitors that it's just a 1-pack product. You don't have to add any catalyst and therefore you've got no pot life to the ink.
Okay, just a couple more questions here. Are reflective inks acceptable for DOT standards for emergency workers? If so, which product works best?
That's actually not a standard I'm familiar with, and we would probably have to have some testing carried out. With regard to reflectivity of the products, the best products are the Silver SB and the Black 3R.
Okay, will the metallic tarnish or dull after laundering?
No, it won't. It is a special metallic that we use, and we have to ensure that it's actually stable and it won't tarnish while it's actually in the ink itself. So it's a very, very stable product, and also the wash performance is fantastic. As I said before, we do test that to 5 washes at 60 degrees centigrade, so the wash durability of that product is excellent.
Okay, next question. Is foil resist additive required for all water-based inks, including discharge and high solids?
We typically find that if we're printing discharge, we don't need to use a foil resist. Anything with sort of quite low solids in the ink, so discharge, soft base, they don't really need to use the foil resist. Once it comes to high solids, then yes, we definitely need to use the foil resist because the high solids ink do soften under the press with the foil. So we use the foil resist just to ensure that we don't get any transfer of the foil onto the areas where we don't want it.
Which of the reflective can we add pigments to?
So you can add pigment to the reflective clear and the reflective crystal clear if you want to achieve Pantone shade. I would actually recommend that instead of adding the pigment directly to the paste, you print the Pantone shade in Aquaflex or in soft base, depending on what background you're printing on, what fabric you're printing on, and then you use the reflective as an overprint. We do find that when you add the pigment directly to the reflective, it does affect the reflectance.
Okay. Is it recommended to use a heat press to adhere the foil to garment, or are there recommendations for adhering foil at the end of the dryer?
I would recommend a heat press because this particular product that we talked about today is a thermoplastic, so it really needs pressure and temperature to give you the best foil application and durability.
Also, one thing to think about when you're foiling, the best results are typically achieved when that foil is applied with, like Jeanette said, heat and pressure, and then allowed to fully cool off. Once it's cooled down, then the foil really releases extremely well, leaving just a beautiful layer of foil on top.
Okay, what mesh counts can I use?
The mesh count really for the specialty products tends to be around 110 because a lot of the specialties, are quite big particles, things like the reflective and the bling silver. for other products, the mesh count really depends on the product itself. For instance, with the Aquaflex V2 range, we would recommend a maximum of 190 mesh, whereas with the HB Opaque, we can go up to 305. So the mesh count really depends on the product.
And on the special effects that we've talked about today, if people download the special effects booklet, we definitely indicate what mesh counts are used and what squeegees and squeegee angles.
Thank you. Do additives like fixing agents shorten or limit ink life? Can the remaining ink be reused the next day?
If you add something like a fixing agent to reduce the time and temperature required to cure the ink, then typically it will reduce the pot life of the ink. So we have a product, for instance, called MagnaPrint Crosslinker 100, and if we add that to the ink, then we're looking at an 8-hour pot life to that ink. We wouldn't recommend that you use it again the next day.
Okay. Will the suede foam make my colors lighter after it expands?
Yes, it will. What you see in the pot will look darker than what you actually see on the fabric. Once the puff expands, then the colours will typically look 5 to 10% lighter.
Imagine a red balloon, and if you take that red balloon and there's no air in it, that red balloon has its vibrancy, but as you blow that balloon up and it expands, that color is dispersed and stretched out, so it's not as opaque and not as saturated. So that's exactly what's going on with the expansion foams that are used in the suedes.
Okay, someone asked, we are doing freehand or airbrushing. Is it okay to use the ink as it is? Or does it need to be thinned?
I think you could use it as it is. I mean, the inks aren't particularly thick. Water-based is typically thinner than plastisol. So I think you could apply it by freehand. If you're applying it with through a spray gun or something like that, then you may need to thin it down. And if you were going to thin it with anything, then obviously, like Dan says, it's important that you carry out your own tests and check that you're achieving the full cure and the fastness requirement that you're looking for.
Something I'd be cautious of would be, if they're trying to use any special effects through an airbrush. Obviously, the tips of the airbrush may become clogged with any of the special effect flakes because of the particle size. So again, I would certainly recommend doing your due diligence and testing it prior to doing it on good garments.
All right, just a couple more questions here. How long can a foil print sit? Days, weeks, or a month before the heat processes the foil, before heat pressing the foil?
In my experience, most people do it sort of within 24 to 48 hours, and I haven't really tested anything that's been applied, at a later stage. However, I can't see any reason why it wouldn't work, particularly with a water-based foil adhesive, as it is a particular different product to plastisol. It is an ink that contains a thermoplastic adhesive, so as long as it's not exposed to any high temperature, the thermoplastic adhesive won't be activated until you do actually press it. So I can't see any reason why you couldn't store the prints for a month, 2 months, and then press them. I think it would still work extremely well.
Is there a dispensing systems available for your inks?
Currently, we don't have a dispensing system for the ink. However, we do have a dispensing system for the pigment concentrates. So the dispensing system works together with our MagnaMix formulation guide, and you can dispense very accurately the amount of pigment that you require to make a certain quantity of ink. It's actually quite important to have a good dispensing system. as our concentrate pigments are very, very concentrated. So sometimes a very small addition is needed, which can be difficult if you're doing that manually. So the dispensing system for the pigments do make it much more accurate, particularly if you're dispensing a lot of colours throughout the day. I'm sure Dan can provide information on the dispensing systems if anybody wants that information after the webinar.
Yes, please feel free to reach out to me, and we can figure out what your needs are and point you in the right direction.
Do you offer glow-in-the-dark inks?
Yes, we do. That is our MagnaGlow range, I believe. We have a range of colours available, and obviously the standard neutral yellow, green, glow-in-the-dark.
Have you found any increased opacity if you flash print the black 3R reflectives? Can you use an underprint, a plastisol on reflective?
You can, of course, use an underprint on the reflectives. I have no experience of using them together with plastisol, but we use them quite often in combination with the Aquaflex V2 products, where they're part of a design and the reflective ink falls on top. And that works very well and maintains the durability requirement that we're looking for. The opacity of the 3R black is actually very good. I would recommend that you do print 2 strokes, definitely, to ensure that you're clearing the mesh. And if you need more coverage, then yes, of course, print 2/2.
Is PMS matching more accurate with some Magna products versus others?
That would be unfair of me to comment. Obviously, we like to think that our PMS matching system is very accurate, and we work very hard to try and get as good as we possibly can. The MagnaMix system does cover a lot of different bases. So we have recipes for our soft bases. We have recipes for the Aquaflex and Aquaplas high solid systems. We also have recipes for discharge. I think anyone can appreciate that giving a recipe for discharge is quite difficult because it's really dependent on the fabric that you're printing on. So what we say is that it's a guide, it's a recipe guide system. So we hope that 9 times out of 10 you're going to achieve the colour that you're looking for, but with discharge it's particularly difficult because we don't know the base that you're printing on and the quality of the fabric and how dischargeable it is. So we just say that we hope that we can achieve a very good starting point. Feedback from customers has always been very good, and I do believe that our system is up there with the best of them.
Some other things to take into account too when color matching. There's a lot of variables that come into play when we're trying to accurately match a color. So things like mesh count, that can certainly dictate the color concentration and the color match that you're trying to achieve. In addition to that, squeegee durometer. So a harder squeegee is going to put down a thinner deposit of ink, whereas a softer squeegee will put a heavier deposit down. And same thing with squeegee angle. A very steep angle will put down less ink, and a very flat angle will put down more ink. And all those factors together, they create a lot of variables that can shift the color one way or another from a Pantone match.
Among the Magna products, what has the best PMS matches?
I would say the Aquaflex V2 or the soft base, because they're quite simple to do. The soft base in particular, because you're printing it down onto white or light background, so you've got no influence on shade from the background. And also with the high solids, we typically print them onto a white underbase. So again, you've got a good clear background, and you can achieve the match very easily with that.
Great, thank you, Jeanette. That concludes our question and answer portion of the webinar. Thank you all for attending today's special effects webinar. We will be sending a link to the recording of this webinar. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.